So anyway, thank you so much for coming on. This is for those of you who don't know, this is TM Lee, one of the co-founders of CoinGecko. CoinGecko is an amazing company, and I mean I'll let TM tell you all about it. So TM, thank you so much for coming. I just want to ask you before we go on to the meat of today's podcast. I want to ask you what led you and your the other co-founder Bobby Ong to come up with CoinGecko and what exactly it is.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason. So basically, CoinGecko right now is you can think of it as a data aggregator for cryptocurrencies. Basically, if you want to find out like what's the price of a coin that's being traded, where can you trade them, what are the trading volumes, what's the market capitalization, anything that you want to know about a given cryptocurrency, you can find it on CoinGecko. I like to tell people like the closest analogy is maybe like Yahoo Finance or Bloomberg, where you get data, right? You want to get information, you go to all these websites. But for Bloomberg and Yahoo Finance, they're mainly for stocks, not cryptocurrencies. So for our side, we focus mainly on crypto. And how we started it, like I think I first stumbled upon Bitcoin, like really looking into it was in 2013. There were various reasons how I discovered it, and then I started playing with it. Started trading with some other coins at that time, and then wanted to explore further because I see some problems that it could solve. So I ended up playing with some building a micropayment website where people can upload digital content like what you're seeing right now, NFT, but there's no NFT then at that time. But basically, people upload images, documents, and then you can just pay someone in Bitcoin, and then you can download that file. So I was playing with that, and I saw like how you could actually do transactions with people around the world really easily. And then I met Bobby by chance through a mutual friend in Singapore. And then I told him like, when we come back to Malaysia, let's try to do something together. And then long story short, we ended up deciding to do a data platform where we tried to analyze crypto data that we think was important at that time. And then we kept it as a side project. We never left our job, and then continued to just build and then be in the space. I mean, there's a lot of things that went through, but long story short, also like in 2017, when the market sort of went a little bit crazy with Bitcoin going up to 20K, we saw our website growing like 10x or 100x without us doing anything. Mainly also because we had all the information in that over there that people want to find out about. So that kind of helped us grow the audiences, and we realized that we are onto something. And then we started hiring and grow the team. So that's the entire journey. Like from 2014, we started a company to now we're still running it basically. Yeah.
Right, 2014, and I can imagine that it mustn't have been easy in the very first few years. Was it tough, or was it like, as you said, a side project that you worked on, so you didn't really have to quit your jobs and stake everything on it? How was the first few years like?
I think it's easy in the sense that like you're right, like we never had to give up on our job. Like we were able to just keep our job where we draw a salary, and then we just do this on the side with very little expectation. Like we're very happy when people are using our website and they say, oh, I get some benefit from using your data and stuff like that. So we're just quite happy to see this. And also like we never went for venture funding, so we never had to pitch to investors actively, and then if they rejected our pitch, and then we feel like very demotivated and stuff like that. So I guess that part is fine. The hard part is also, of course, Bitcoin wasn't that mainstream. So it's very hard to explain to people like what we are doing. So like when I was doing this, I was telling like my parents or people around me, they just like think that I'm crazy. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this because I think, I believe in this and stuff like that. And then even if you don't talk to VCs that are, or even like your acquaintance, people who work in startups that are not crypto related or Bitcoin related, they also don't really get what you're doing as well. So it's difficult in the sense that I thought that the market wouldn't really grow. Like I kind of know that one day it will be big, I just don't know when. So that's why we continue sticking to doing it. But I would say it's very difficult because there weren't people who were in the space thinking like us. So when I met Bobby, we kind of resonate because both of us were really into Bitcoin, and we exchanged a lot of ideas, exchanged a lot of notes, and then you start to meet people within the industry in like very close meetup. So the meetup last time was only like 30 people in a Bitcoin meetup, typical Bitcoin meetup. Now, of course, like you got conferences and people talk about it on Twitter. So it's very, very different compared to then. So yeah, I would say the fact that people are not open to the idea what makes it a little bit difficult for us to like even like sell the product to audiences outside of the space, if you will. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. And the reason I first heard of CoinGecko, I think 2 years ago at Luno's Chinese New Year dinner. Then I saw, I think Bobby was the one who presented to all the people in attendance. And then it resurfaced again in my memory, in my consciousness, like a few months ago when Bobby was top 30 most influential people in crypto by Cointelegraph, but of course he mentioned you as well. They just forgot about you, I guess. How does it feel now? Like like CoinGecko has gotten such attention, especially from a well-respected news outlet like Cointelegraph.
Yeah, I would say that we never really expected all this when we started the company. Again, it was a side project, and then in 2017, we knew that we were onto something, so we left our job and go all in and build it. And even at the time, I think we are player number 3 or 4 or 5. Like there are many competitors that we need to try to beat, and we saw problems in the space. Like even after the market correction, everybody sort of like left the space, and then whoever who continued to be in the space trading or running a business in the crypto space are people who kind of believe in it. So while we were running it, we see a lot of issues. Like we try to get closer to the community and find out like what problems are you facing when it comes to data aggregation. Like maybe like exchanges are wash trading, the volume are inflated, and then when people come in and trade on all these exchange, they realize that they can't buy and sell at the price that is being advertised. So what that means is that the exchange are sort of like faking the order book and stuff like that. So these are some of the issues that we saw, and then we introduced like features and basically features and data that allows people to make better decisions. So I guess like making all the little fixes and addressing the little problems here and there sort of like help us gain some sort of acceptance to some user base. I would say a lot of the momentum came in last year during the DeFi boom, right? And we were one of the first, or rather the only data aggregator at that time to aggregate all the DeFi services, any sort of tokens or any sort of DeFi metrics that you want to look for. Only CoinGecko has it at that time. So that kind of gave us a lot of momentum and tailwind for us to grow the user base, because people are very used to our competitor. They find no reason to switch. So I like to think that we were kind of lucky in the sense that we did some of the things, plus the timing helped us to scale the company forward. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And right now, I mean, I'm just curious, how big is CoinGecko in terms of like how many people do you have in your offices, or how big's your team?
Yeah, we currently have, I think, about 30 people now. I think it's slightly over 30 or slightly around 30. Yeah. I think last year we were 20 or 15 to 20. So I think over the year we hired about 10 additional team members to the team. Yeah.
It must have been really it must have been a whirlwind journey for, say, your parents or your relatives who in 2014 you say, I want to do something with cryptocurrency, and then they're like, what are you doing? They don't get it, and then they're wondering why you study so hard, get a high level degree, and then do this kind of stuff which makes no sense, and how have they changed their minds now that it's gone, like CoinGecko has gone kind of mainstream?
Yeah, I would say that they are pretty skeptical, but they are also very supportive as well. I mean, I always tell them that I want to do, like, I kind of know what I want to do myself. Just let me do it, right? I mean, even before CoinGecko, or even other than CoinGecko, a lot of decisions that I make, it's like, I want to do it. I just want to do it, right? So my dad is also very supportive. Like, I remember when I started mining Dogecoin back in 2014, when Dogecoin was worth nothing, right? That was like my first experimentation, because I can't mine Bitcoin at the time. It's too expensive to get an ASIC chip, so I ended up playing with Dogecoin mining. And my dad was kind of supportive. Like he allocated a space for me in his house to just put the mining rigs there, and it's kind of like noisy and really hot. Even my brother as well. Like, I also take up some space in his apartment to do it. So, but then of course they just thought like, okay, I'm doing it just for fun. Eventually I'll stop, right? Because it's not profitable anymore and things like that. But I think that allows me to learn as well, like how mining actually works, how difficult it is to actually do it, and it doesn't make sense for a man on the street to even get into mining unless you're really into computers. So I just wanted to learn and explore and get a hands-on feeling on how crypto really works. I'm just really curious. Yeah.
That's interesting, man. And that curiosity has created CoinGecko. I mean, as a Malaysian, I'm very proud, because I always feel that all these homegrown Malaysian companies, they tend to either be incubated outside of Malaysia, and it happens to have one or two Malaysians who are in it, but to see that CoinGecko is really homegrown and home based, it's such a it's good to see that, you know, the Malaysian talent still got hope lah, still got future, you know. I want to ask a question which I'm sure a lot of people have asked before, because I, as a layman, although I do buy cryptocurrency, I don't understand how does CoinGecko make its money? How is it profitable? What do people pay? What services do people pay CoinGecko for?
Yeah, so our business model at this point in time is the primary one is mainly advertising. So if you go to the website, you will see some banner ads.
Okay.
You will see some affiliates like you know, you wanna trade a certain crypto, you can, you know, go to this exchange, which are partners that we work closely with. So these are the business model, and it kind of work also because in the early stage of our company, it was just myself and Bobby. We don't really have a huge burn rate. Like, we don't have staff that we need to pay for their salary. So everything is all software, and everything is just the two of us. So we keep our burn rate really low. So we have this revenue that we have accumulated in the early days that we can just sort of like reinvest in the company, and then hire freelancers slowly, bit by bit, and then eventually hire our first employee. So all the revenue is recycled back into the company. And also, like I mentioned, that we can do this because we have a large user base. So when you have like millions and millions of page views, advertising can work. But of course, after a while, you will hit a tipping point. And that's why people like to do like subscription, or they have to sell like added value services, like enterprise deals and things like that, which are things that we are exploring right now. So maybe in the next few months, you will see us diversifying our revenue stream further beyond ads. We have new products that we have planned. Another new product that we also launched was the book, right? So you saw the How to DeFi book, How to Bitcoin book. So those are education resources that we are experimenting with, and there's a price tag to these materials. And we think that people may value a book that compiles all the information that are all over the place in the internet. Like, you don't know where to find them, and they're all very contradictory. So we compile all of them in one place, and we put in a book. And the book sales has been pretty decent, I would say. So that itself could also potentially go into a business line.
Yeah, I think that's great, because like, in a way, you're also your data aggregating but into a book, as opposed to a website, because like there are a lot of YouTube videos of like that answer people's questions, but because it, by virtue of there being so many videos, sometimes it can get overwhelming, and unless people really bite the orange pill, or they go down the rabbit hole, they'll be a bit daunting to see so many videos, you know. And then some videos, like say, what is Bitcoin mining? Some are like 2 minutes, some are like 20 minutes. So you don't know why got difference one. You know? Surely there's more info in 20 minutes, but do I need 20 minutes of information? So I think that's really great. Even my friend Ernest Ng, the comic artist, he is also, I think, going to start drawing comics to educate people about cryptocurrency and exchanges. So I think that's one of the segments that you're right, like can be a decent business model. Okay. The reason why I actually got in touch early on is because I somehow or other, I think, was it on Facebook, or I think on Facebook, I asked the question, what exactly is DeFi? Because I tried my level best to read up about DeFi, couldn't really get my head around it. I tried several websites and everything, several YouTube videos. Then one of CoinGecko's one of your team members actually sent me the How to DeFi book, and I read it. I kind of got it, but I want to ask you, and for the benefit of my viewers, what exactly is DeFi?
Yeah, so I hope you already read the book, but basically, DeFi stands for decentralized finance, and the whole idea of DeFi is basically to recreate the financial services in a decentralized setting where you don't have to rely on a central party. So you can imagine, like right now, when you're borrowing money, or you're lending money, or you are trading stocks or whatever, you have to go through a central intermediary, which maybe you don't even realize it. Like, your banks is your central intermediary. They take your deposit, they loan it out to someone. When you're trading stocks, you have to go through a brokerage. The brokerage have to go through a clearinghouse. So these are all central intermediaries. So the whole idea of DeFi is to sort of like remove those intermediary and replace it with software, so that they will all execute directly with the other counterparty. Actually, Bitcoin is arguably a DeFi product, maybe one of the first DeFi product, but the term wasn't coined because it is a decentralized currency. It's solving the currency aspect or store of value aspect of finance. And then what you're seeing in DeFi is all the other suite of services like lending, borrowing, insurance, trading and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically what DeFi is.
Okay, so so I know that you can borrow money and lend money to people via decentralized finance, but isn't there a particular? And I know that if you want to borrow money from someone, you must also pledge some form of collateral, which is like which could be more than what the amount you borrowed for, so that if if you can't borrow it, then that collateral is gone, which safeguards the person lending me the money. But in the traditional financial world, I as a person, I can actually borrow a much larger sum of which I have no collateral for. So for example, let's say I'm a fresh graduate, I'm earning like 5,000 a month. I want to buy a house which is $500,000. Then I get the bank to borrow me like 90%, which is 450,000. Now there's no way I have that much in assets, but I get the 450,000 to buy a house worth $500,000. From what I've read so far, that does not seem possible with DeFi. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. I think I would say it's currently still not possible. Maybe it will be possible down the road, and there's a reason for that. So, so the problem with trying to borrow money without putting collateral is that there's a couple of moving parts. Like you have to sort of like stake your identity, right? So in the traditional finance world, the one that we are used to, basically you are staking your credit score, your identity. So if you don't pay off your loan, then you'll be blacklisted in some central database that you cannot borrow money from the banks or you cannot borrow money from other entities anymore. The problem is that whole thing is very hard to recreate in smart contract, at least at this point in time, right? There is no way, because in computers you can have multiple identities. There is no central database or central blockchain right now that tells everyone else that this guy didn't pay off his debt, right? For example, so the best way to bootstrap a lending protocol is to do a collateralized lending. And actually, this is sort of like a real world thing as well. Like some rich people, they don't have cash, right? They actually have a lot of stocks. Like you can imagine maybe Steve Jobs or even Tim Cook right now. Like he has a lot of Apple stocks. And what he can do is actually he can pledge his Apple stocks to the bank, and then he can draw out US dollars. So he's not selling his stocks, he's just pledging it, and then he's drawing out US dollars, he spend it by himself. If the Apple stocks continues to increase, he can then draw more dollars out, right? So these are some things that are accessible by actually the private bank, people who have access to private banks, right? In the decentralized worst case, basically if you have Bitcoin, right, which is worth say 50,000 today, you can pledge that to the DeFi service, or you can pledge to a centralized service as well if you want to. They also offer that kind of service, and then you can then draw out US dollars, and then you pay a certain amount of interest rate, and then you can use that to spend it to do whatever you want to, and then if you pay it back with interest, then you get back your collateral. And the reason why you don't want to sell Bitcoin is because you want to long it, right? You're expecting it to continue to go up, so you want to draw dollars, but you're pledging it to obtain it from someone who is willing to lend their dollars over to you. So the lending protocol on DeFi basically solves the issue without you needing to go through a central intermediary.
Oh, okay. And as you're describing it, so I know that sometimes, like I mentioned, when you let's say you want to, if you want to borrow, let's say like 10 Bitcoin, you must pledge like 15 Bitcoin, right? And as you were describing it, I was thinking to myself, well, what if I can pledge 10 Bitcoin, I borrow cash, then with the cash I buy more Bitcoin, then I take the Bitcoin and I pledge more Bitcoin, and then as I can exponentially pledge and gain like 10,000 Bitcoin. But then of course with the protocols in DeFi, that's not possible, right? That safeguard saves.
Actually, that's possible if you want to, but you're taking on a huge risk by doing that. Again, that is also only accessible to the rich, right? From what I've heard, like the private bankers will allow you to pledge your stocks, draw dollars out, use your dollar, buy another bunch of stock, and then pledge again and draw another dollars, and then buy. So it means you are actually leveraging 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So like if you go to the DeFi protocol, technically you can pledge your Bitcoin. Let's say you pledge 15 Bitcoin, you draw out 10. You take 10 and then you put it back in, and then you draw again, and then you do something else. Basically you must try to do something else that you hope to get a better yield. Don't put back into the same asset. But once there's a systemic risk in any one of these layers, right, then it will force liquidate, because they have to force liquidate the asset that you pledge if the price drops. So that will actually sort of like ripple up all the way to your top lah. So you can do that, but it's very dangerous. Yeah.
Okay. Right, that's very interesting. And also, like, with regards to DeFi, like right now, I know that Ethereum is a very essential or integral part of DeFi. But then I read like there's the gas fees are very very high. What's the situation there? Can you? I still kind of understand. I mean, your explanation about DeFi I kind of get it, but when it comes to Ethereum and the gas fees, how do they factor in?
How do they relate to DeFi
Yes.
and the high gas fee?
Yes.
Right. So so Ethereum is a smart contract platform, if you will. So you can think of it as Bitcoin, but with added benefit where a developer can come in and deploy an app like you see on your phone. You can deploy an app and then you can interact with the app, but you have to pay the fees in Ethereum currency, which is Ether, as they call it gas fee, whenever you want to interact with it. So whenever you want to write a new kind of information to the Ethereum blockchain, you have to pay some sort of a fee. So what happens is that all these DeFi products, right, are basically apps or contracts that are all over the Ethereum network. So say, for example, if you want to, we talk about borrowing, right? So the moment you pledge your Bitcoin into the network, you're actually updating the ledger, right? You're updating the blockchain ledger saying that, Jason is putting 15 BTC into Ethereum. So when you make that change, right, you have to pay a gas fee, right? And then now when you receive your new token, right, your dollar token, when you want to use that to trade somewhere else, if you're using a DeFi product, which is another kind of contract, when you interact with it, you have to pay in gas fee as well. So there's just insane amount of demand to access all these services. And the Ethereum blockchain, because of its inherent property of being decentralized, there are miners and stuff like that, it can only process a limited amount of transactions in a given minute, for example. So whenever the demand for accessing the network becomes high, obviously the gas fee has to go up, because the miners will only prioritize whoever who bids the highest. So there are always going to be whales or big players who don't mind paying the high gas fee, because he can maybe take arbitrage opportunities or things like that, which offsets or maybe even go beyond the gas fee that he's paying. But that blocks out all the small players with like smaller amount of capital, because it doesn't make sense for you to say trade $10 and pay $10 in gas fee. Then net becomes zero already, right?
Yeah.
So that's the situation right now. There's just a surge amount of demand, and also a surge amount of demand by the big players, the sophisticated players, because they saw arbitrage opportunity and they just outbid everyone else. Yeah.
Right. So with Ethereum being such high demand in terms of fueling DeFi and everything, the price of Ethereum went up. Like I think last year was like 600, and then now it's like today it's like 1,005, whatever. I'm not asking you to be a punter, of course, but I'm just asking you, like, what do you think Ethereum's price will go up, remain the same, or I mean, I know it's being upgraded also. So what is your outlook on Ethereum's future?
Yeah, again, I don't know where the price will go. Like So the thing is that you can look at a few things, right? So if you look at Ethereum by itself, when I think during 2017 it went up to $1,400. Does it really justify going up to $1,400 at that time? Because there was no DeFi products. Basically, when you buy Ether, you can't really do much with it. You're only using it to maybe buy some ICO tokens or whatever. I mean, at that time it was really hot, right?
Yeah.
Then now fast forward today, that people are buying Ethereum to access DeFi products, so they're just using it to pay for gas. And then the main token that moves around are the dollar tokens and whatever. So you got that. Second is Ethereum is also a collateralized asset. So people use Ethereum to collateralize into a lending platform, or even the decentralized stablecoin. They put Ether in there, and then you issue out stablecoin like US dollars backed coin. So you can think of it as Ether has many functionality beyond just being a gas token. So in that regards, and also with ETH 2.0 launching in the future, it will open up new possibilities because if they can solve the scalability issue while remaining decentralized, it will allow more and more people to build apps, experiment, and that will push the boundary further. But what I'm seeing with this year's bull run is that a lot of the value accrue actually ends up going to the token. So like all the DeFi has a bunch of tokens, right? So it seems like a lot of the value goes into all these tokens, and that's why we're not seeing Ethereum price going up. That's my guess.
I see.
Whereas in 2017, the narrative is that the layer ones, which is like Ethereum, will accrue all the value, and then all the apps will not accrue any value at all. But because of DeFi, we're seeing how value can go into the DeFi tokens.
I see.
Itself. Yeah.
Right. So it's right. Okay. So now, with regards to, I spoke to Bobby recently about how like Malaysia's securities commissions, they were quite progressive in having a digital framework for allowing stuff like Luno and 2 other exchanges to operate in Malaysia. Do you think that in the future our authorities will be so progressive and forward looking that they will allow some form of Malaysian DeFi operating with regulations in Malaysia?
I am not too sure how the direction would go, because if I look at the space right now, anything that's in the crypto space, right, it is largely a global product from day one. So whenever you deploy a product to Ethereum network, it is accessible by anyone around the world. So you are not bounded by geographical restriction unless your application is very specific to certain things in Malaysia. Like say for example, you want to tokenize your real estate in Malaysia, which I would think right now it's very difficult to do it because of various moving parts. But if that's the case, then I suppose that you need some sort of a regulatory framework to govern that, because the property is actually residing in Malaysia and you're tokenizing it, and then you are sort of like securitizing it. So I think that aspect of DeFi has not been explored, where it actually relates very closely to the real world, and it ties in very closely to a geographical restriction where maybe governments will have to come in and play. So it is still largely untapped, but the possibility is definitely there. And also like right now, there isn't just Ethereum, there's many other blockchain as well. So maybe some blockchain will be very specific to a country, or like when central banks are talking about central bank digital currency, we don't know yet if this central bank digital currency will be based on blockchain, and if it does based on blockchain, will it have smart contract capability or not? Which means people can then write apps, and then you can have your ringgit, dollar on the central bank digital currency interacting with it directly. So these are ideas that they can draw from what we are seeing right now in the blockchain space. But it's all up in the air whether it will happen or not.
Right. Okay. It's so interesting because this kind of crypto stuff is always like if one door opens leads to many other different doors, and so on and so forth. So it's very fascinating to me as a person with no financial background.
It's like once the genie is out of the bottle or something, it's out, right? So people are just gonna experiment, especially when there's permissionless innovations, like internet in the early days. People just keep like innovating and just keep building and experimenting with all kinds of ideas, and develop into what we have right now.
I tell people that Twitter is one of my best sources of news with regards to cryptocurrency, because it's the fastest. But sometimes people on crypto they can sound a bit crazy, and that's why when I talk to people like like Aaron from Luno and you and Bobby, you sound so sane, you sound so rational. It's nice, it gives them like it calms the beating heart a little bit, especially in this volatile world. When you mention about tokenized stuff, it's a nice segue to what my next question is. And this is something which even harder for me to wrap my head around, which is the NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I keep reading news of NFTs, the $1 billion industry. This guy sold his NFT for like $500,000, 6 million, whatever. What exactly is this NFT, and how do I make millions from it?
Oh, how do you make millions from it?
What is it?
We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay,
we'll get to that in a bit. But so NFT basically stands for non-fungible token. It is token with unique characteristic on it. So you can think of it as your maybe baseball cards, Pokemon cards. So you can imagine every Pokemon cards has a unique characteristic. There is a picture, there is some attributes to it, right? And if you compare that with US dollars or Ringgit Malaysia, they are all fungible tokens, because you don't really care if somebody gives you $1, because $1 is $1. But let's say somebody gives you a Charizard card from Pokemon World, right? And then he substitute that with another Pokemon card, which is very common. You care, right? Because the attribute on the card is different. So you can think of it of that Pokemon card, but digitized into a token that's using blockchain to verify the uniqueness. So this has been around actually way back. I think it goes way back to 2015 or 2016 as well. There are people who experimented using Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain, and then they extended it to sort of like create comical art. I think it was Rare Pepe at the time, just for fun. And then to prove that it is possible to mint a unique characteristic token, and then it's verified by the Bitcoin blockchain. Obviously, it's not built for that, but people sort of like experimented, and it is possible to do it.
So, Chop, that means in those days they tried to they tried to mine a unique Bitcoin or a unique coin on the Bitcoin blockchain.
So basically, they create an application that mints a token, and then using the Bitcoin blockchain as a way to verify that the token is unique. Right? So it's more like a hack, right? And then when Ethereum launched with smart contract, it's the developers oyster, right? It makes it easier for them to program a token with unique characteristic. So then what happened was in 2017, I believe, CryptoPunk, which is one of the first NFT in Ethereum, basically it's also a side project by two guys, I think, in New York, to try to create a crypto generative art validated by the blockchain, and then you can have all these bunch of tokens with very unique characteristic image on it, and then he actually gave it out for free. Like, as long as you're willing to pay the gas fee at that time, which was like maybe $1 or $2, you get to keep that image. So that was the first NFT project, and then later on there were people who got inspired by that, and they said, like, why don't I create a game? Like, game items, they're all owned by a company. Why don't I make the game item in such a way that it exists on the blockchain? So you got like CryptoKitties, you got Axie Infinity, and all this game element attributed into the NFT. And also you got another group of people who thinks that, artwork, they're all unique, right? So why not, use that concept, create a token, and then you put an image on it, and then you can prove that this artist is the first person who releases the artwork and it is original. Because digital artwork is never original, right? You put it up on Facebook. The moment you do that, right, everyone's just copy paste, and then no one knows like where the original image come from, unless the person do a very close research to find out that, it came from this guy who put it out on Facebook or whatever. But with blockchain, right, to some extent there is a timestamp that you can always refer back to. There are some caveats to that which we can talk about more if you want to, but basically if you're an artist, you create an artwork and then you just put it out onto an NFT and then mint it onto the blockchain. You can prove that this is where it starts, and then you can start putting it in a marketplace or whatever if somebody wants to buy it from you, if you will, or you can give it away for free as well. Let's say you do a show, you can say all my audiences will get a free NFT, right? It is possible to do that. Whether it will have value or not, that's also another thing, right? So what you're seeing with all these $1 million transaction and whatnot, I think they're all coming from either very, very nostalgic NFT that existed in the old days, like back in 2017, 2018, where it has accrued value because of its provenance. There's a story of how it started. There's a story about who owns it and stuff like that, which gives it value because you can verify that on the blockchain. And the other part of it is artists, like mainstream artists who are popular. They have their followers already, and then they come into the NFT space, they mint it, and then their crazy fans or whatever just say, I don't care, I want to get it. So I bid like $1 million just to own it, right? And then because of all the mania that's going on, they think that they can sell it off to someone else who is willing to outbid them, right? So it's a little bit crazy because this NFT thing also happened during the ICO bubble in 2017, 2018. But for some reason, nobody paid attention to it. So it was there is some following, and then it just disappeared a little bit. And then there are, of course, builders, game developers, the art galleries. They were just heads down, believing in it. They just continue to build it. And then now they are sort of like powering this ecosystem of art galleries and game items that are based off NFT. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you are an artist. You come up, you draw a very nice painting, right? And then you NFT, it means there is a token attributed to the digital artwork, right? and this
Yeah.
token says, okay, who is the artist, timestamp and everything. So that I get that, but when you sell it, I mean, technically, everyone can see the artwork lah. It's just that the person who paid you, let's say 10 million for it, he is the person who gets to say, I own the token, and therefore I own
that's
this digital piece of art is mine.
It's a bragging rights.
It's bragging rights,
So
right?
if you so if you go to any game, let's say Fortnite or whatever, or even like PUBG or any mobile games lah, people are spending like thousands of dollars or whatever just to buy like skins. And the skin doesn't give them any extra capability in the game. It just allows them to stand out, and it's just a bragging right. So it may, so I guess like maybe the young generation of people who plays game will resonate with this because it's just bragging rights by itself. But I'll also add that what this NFT allows to do is also like for artists, right? Typically after your first sale, in a traditional sense, right, you don't get any cut anymore, right? So you make your first sale, you sell it for $100. Let's say you have your own NFT, you sell for $100. Any kind of transaction that goes after that, someone sells it for 1,000, someone sells it for 1,000,000 or whatever because of whatever that happened to you, you don't get to enjoy the upside.
Yes.
But in some of all these galleries, right, they allow, so you use smart contract to say that, you know, any subsequent transaction, there's a royalty fee that goes back to the original creator. So to some extent, there is some incentive for the content creator to sort of like create more artwork, because any subsequent sales in the gallery, the royalty will still go back to them. It's not just a one-off sale. Yeah.
Wow, now that is groundbreaking. That is insane, because then that could also be like, you know, say like it could a writer can write maybe a novel, then tokenize it and then like sell it to people. Then if let's say they want to sell it to other people also, like a publisher can sell, you know, multiple copies of a book, and then all the royalties will immediately go to the artist. That can occur, right?
Yeah, that can generally occur as long as someone is willing to transact, someone is willing to pay the amount, and then if you use the correct platform, and then I think right now it's not a universal thing. Like I've spoke to a few people in the community. They said that if I take the NFT out from the gallery and sell it in another marketplace, it wouldn't accrue the royalty. But let's just assume that, let's say if the sales stay within the gallery itself, then there is that possibility for the royalty to go back to the original creator. So I guess that right now the question is, does all this NFT worth this much or not? Like, we really don't know, because people are just paying crazy price. I really cannot imagine a world where every day I'm seeing like millions of dollars of NFT being sold out. I think the music will eventually stop, because I guess like you don't even hear regular artists selling like things for $1 million, right, in the real world. So I think it's a temporary thing. If I would put my sort of like realistic view, but it is a technology that people are starting to realize that they can use, especially for artists or content creator, to connect with their audiences better, right? Because back then you have to use like third-party services, like maybe like Spotify or any platform, and then there is always, you know, a fee that you have to pay someone, and you don't really own the audience. But now the audience can directly own your NFT, for example, which is the content that is from you. Of course, the contents can be copied out many times, which is the same case for any digital stuff that you use, but maybe there are some people who values the fact that it came from you, the original version. So I guess we still don't know where the market force is headed yet.
I see.
At this point,
still early days, but I mean, we often, you know, I mean, we not often, but every once in a while you hear of like, oh, this artist sold his painting for like 200 million or whatever, and then the painting is just like one line between two blue dots, you know, like, or, you know, and then you always hear of like, you know, those streamers, those, like, remember the pretty girl who sold her bath water and then it sold out in record time, you know. I think there is something there, you know. It's very interesting, and the whole, I think the most interesting part you've told me about is the whole, how the royalties can be, you know, locked in. I think a lot of artists will be really interested in that, because like you said, you know, when they sell and then it's being sold over time again, they don't get anything from it, you know. And I think artists, that is something very appealing to artists, you know, that they can do that without some third party or publisher or agent or promoter controlling that. That's very interesting. So
Yeah,
right
for the longest time, I think digital artists, be it in Malaysia or anywhere, the way they make money is through commissioning work, right? So you actually put out your work on Instagram or some deviant art, for example, and then people go in there and say, yeah, I like your work. Let me just do a deal with you, a transaction to design me a special image, for example. So I would say that every artist should at least consider this and just explore. Like, I mean, you don't have to have any expectation, like just playing with it. You never know where it will go to, right? But this is an additional revenue stream for you to play with. You never know, because you put your NFT out there, someone around the world in the US or Europe may find it interesting and they just buy it off on the marketplace, right? Or they'll just bid it, for instance. So there is room to explore, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the question then. What's your advice? I mean, we just met, of course, but what's your advice to me, Jason Leong, comedian, whatever, and I want to make a lot of money from NFT? How do I do it?
Wow. This is not financial advice.
Yes, of course.
I also didn't know whether it worked. I mean, look, so it's like, I mean, you know my style, right? Look, when we did CoinGecko as well, like, no expectation, it's all experimentation. So I think the first thing you want to do is understand what you're getting yourself into first. Like, all this NFT, make sure you know on the surface level what this is about, what's the possibility, what are the platforms out there. And then once you have done that, then find out like what sort of content you produce, right? Yourself as a comedian, maybe your audio is something that you could mint on the blockchain. Maybe some of your photograph of very special moments with your other fellow comedians or stuff like that. Those are potential things. And then let's say who you want to connect with, like your audiences or people around the world. So these are a few questions that you want to ask yourself. I mean, there could be more questions as well, but that would dictate like what you want to do lah. Because like, for instance, you can do so there's one interesting idea you can probably think of is you can say, I want to do a virtual comedy meetup on a virtual land, for example, if you want to take it to the next level, or you just do it on the stream. And then whoever who comes in as an audience will get a special limited edition NFT, right? So they are more like a proof of attendance lah. They become your audience. If they have a wallet, they can receive an NFT from you, right? So that's like one idea. Of course, whether it will make money or not, I don't know, but this allows you to connect with your audience. And then the other idea is that your own audio or your own images, you can just try to mint it on an NFT and try to put it out there in the world and try to create a story as well. You need to have a narrative. I think a lot of all this, you mentioned like celebrities selling all these things that don't make sense for high price. I think it's all about the narrative and it's all about the story, right? I'm not telling you to create a fake narrative, but something that's natural for you and a fan will generally see value in that, right? I think it's all about experimentation to try and see what the market thinks about it. Yeah, that's all I would say. Like, I really don't know what works and what doesn't work, but because I'm just seeing that people are paying stupid price for things that I wouldn't pay for, but I guess it is what it is. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's to me. I think that's something worth exploring. Well, thank you, man. Those ideas are great. Okay, moving on. You mentioned just now that you started mining Dogecoin. So what? I mean, it's weird because like I know one or two people who they are saying that they make huge gains, with Dogecoin, and then I have a few friends who say like, hey man, I'm trying to get into the crypto space, what's your advice? I want to buy Dogecoin. And then I caught myself thinking like, why you want to buy Dogecoin? It has no fundamentals, it's a joke, it's a meme coin, no point buying it. And I realized that these are the things that people used to say to me when I started buying Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your thoughts on stuff like Dogecoin? Like, what is going on with Dogecoin?
So Dogecoin, when it started off in 2014 or 15, I believe, I can't remember when was it already, or even 13. It was created as a joke. Right? the founder just says like, I'm just gonna copy the code base from Bitcoin, and I'm just gonna put a Doge meme on it, and just call it Dogecoin, and there will be infinite supply. So it will never. There's no limited cap to it, unlike Bitcoin, right? And the tokenomics and everything is all not thought of properly, right? It's just released and out there. And because the meme narrative is so strong at that time, people just have fun, right? So basically miners would just point their rigs to it. gets a bunch of Dogecoin, because they're so plentiful and it's so valueless at that time, what you end up doing is you just give it to people, just tip, right? So there's this tipping culture in 2014 where you go to Reddit, someone just say something on Reddit, you just say, okay, I'll just tip you 10 Doge or 100 Doge, 1,000 Doge, right? Because it's worth nothing. And then this has been going on. And they even did a fundraising. So if you go and look up Google about Dogecoin in 2014, you will see that they fundraised to send a Jamaican team to the bobsled. I think the Winter Olympics or something like that. And they sponsored the bobsled, right?
Using
Dogecoin. And then they
Dogecoin.
also did, either using Dogecoin or at least use that as a movement to gather people. And then I think there's also a NASCAR racing as well. They were also able to sponsor a NASCAR car to have a Dogecoin on there. So there's a lot of, it's a very interesting community and very strong community, I would say, back in 2014. And we also sort of like mingle with them because that's where the audience are. And for us, CoinGecko, we want to get to know the audiences as well. And then I think over the years, it starts to dissipate because it has really no use case. Even the founders sort of have abandoned the project. There are a couple of volunteers who still maintain it. And I think Dogecoin by itself also is no longer mined directly by the miners. It is merge mined with Litecoin. So those are like technical stuff. But long story short is, it is a coin that people no longer pay attention to. I think until recently when Elon Musk started making fun of it or talking about it nonstop, and then everybody listens to what Elon Musk says, right? So that by itself formed a narrative and got people to sort of like jump into Dogecoin because the price was like super volatile whenever he tweets, or it's just send the price up and down. So inherently it has no use case, but the fact that it's also being launched in a way that nobody expects it for anything, just like how Satoshi, when he launched Bitcoin, he didn't really have much expectation on how it will grow to become. So maybe Dogecoin by itself is somewhat decentralized in the sense that it's not owned by a big whale, because most of the whale will probably have sold off years ago. I don't know, I haven't looked up the holders list yet, but I think that's why Elon Musk says that Dogecoin is somewhat decentralized, because all the big guys have abandoned it. But yeah, I would say at this point in time, it's a very volatile currency because of the new traders who are coming in, just trading it as a stock ticker or something like that. They don't know what's behind it, really. Yeah.
The interesting thing about Dogecoin, I was thinking about it that it's so weird that at the very beginning, because it had no value, or it's just like 0.01 or whatever, and people were tipping whatever. It's almost like it's a actual currency lah, because there is no volatility at the time. You could easily give something, pay someone 10 Doge, and then knowing that next month the value of 10 Doge is still the same. Won't that make it in a way very uniquely positioned against, say, Bitcoin, which is very, what's the word, very deflationary and very like the supply is halving all the time, whereas Dogecoin is like a currency.
I would argue that it is also volatile, just that people who generally hold Dogecoin wouldn't care or mind about the volatility. Like, they also have a meme like 1 Doge equals 1 Doge. Same issue like 1 BTC equals 1 BTC. Right? So they generally don't really care like up or down or whatever. So but if you look at the charts, there is volatility. At one point, Doge like went up like crazy, and then it down. It follows the micro market as well. But I always have to say that Dogecoin will never die. Like, it's been around for years. Like, we always thought that okay, it's over for Doge, but eventually it will find its way back into the world. Like right now, you got Elon Musk tweeting about it, and then a couple of years ago, it came back again. So it will never, for some reason, it will never die, right? I guess it's because of the brand, the fact that it has a long history as well on how it started all the way to it is today. Whereas you got other tokens that are launched by legit people with proper business planning, and it end up failing, right? End up going to zero, right? So it's quite interesting, like how Dogecoin perform relative to these other tokens.
I actually Googled, when Elon Musk started tweeting about it, I actually Googled Dogecoin, and then there's some websites that compare. It's so funny. What is Dogecoin versus Bitcoin? Bitcoin is, decentralized coin on the blockchain, and is whatever. And then Dogecoin is the exact same thing, but with a picture of a dog on it.
Yeah. I mean,
think, yeah.
on the surface level, yes, but under the hood, the technical stuff is a bit different, lah. Like the network security, how the mining works, and the supply as well. The supply is different, right? So there are some inherent difference that underneath it.
Yeah. So now I'm as many of us in the community. I mean, I'm endlessly fascinated by the potential of, let's just say, Bitcoin, for example. I mean, what I mean is all cryptocurrency, but the potential of Bitcoin, And when I go on Twitter, I go down the rabbit hole. I read about how some they have like huge philosophical takes on cryptocurrency. Like it's going to upend the world. It's going to swallow gold. It's going to change the whole global financial system. Well, what's your take on this? What's this kind of lofty goals for Bitcoin? Do you foresee Bitcoin reaching anywhere near these kind of lofty goals?
Yeah, I think when I first got into Bitcoin in the beginning, I actually never understood finance as well. Like I was a computer science major, and I never even saw myself working in the finance sector. I thought I would just be building apps, right? I actually stumbled upon Bitcoin a couple of times in my computer science research in school last time, but I just brushed it off because I thought there's no need for it. Like why have an alternative currency when everything seems to be working very well? Then I was somehow able to research about the history of money, and I sort of like understood like why people still put value into gold or silver or precious metal or any other assets other than fiat currency. So that kind of helped. And then when I stumbled onto Bitcoin, I started learning about it, and then it's like, yeah, it's very close to gold. It has a very similar attribute and behavior. Maybe it has a chance to being a better form of gold. And in the early years of Bitcoin, a lot of the early adopters, I would say, have this sort of philosophical mindset, right? They think the government is not doing a good job, and they want a way to hedge against that. Like, what other better way to do it than to own an asset that they cannot control, which governments were inflating away the US dollars, right? And then they want Bitcoin in a way that something that they cannot control. So I think in the grand scheme of things, those kind of philosophy can hold in the sense that, yeah, Bitcoin will change the world, it will make the world a better place by having an asset that's not controlled by government and stuff like that. But I think to me, that is like very, very extreme. It is a possible future if all the stars are aligned. But I think the future that I would very much prefer is Bitcoin or DeFi or whatever, sort of like facilitates the smooth transition away from a system that is not efficient, right? So right now we're very used to fiat currency, or we're very used to centralized finance and stuff like that. But what we have right now is an alternative, which is DeFi and Bitcoin or what have you. And people will then decide to move over to this new form of technology because it helps them do their job better, right? Or let's say you're a business, it makes sense for you to use this to hedge against certain kind of risks, and then have that transition smooth. Even like for governments as well, if they find themselves in a very tough position, rather than just outright banning it or what have you, maybe find a way to sort of like transition to this new form of technology, right? Because whatever that we are used to right now may become outdated down the road. So I think that's a better place because we wouldn't have much disruption in society. Rather, that's not something that we all want. So that's what I'm hoping for, really.
Okay. Now, I'm going to end on this. Thank you for your time. Like I said, I'm fascinated by you and Bobby's work in CoinGecko. So what's next? What's your next plan in the cryptocurrency space? What's your next plans for CoinGecko, and what's next?
Yeah, so it's very hard to answer like what's next because the market changes so quickly, like by the month, by the week, and we're always planning or iterating like by the week, right? But I would probably just say that the end vision for CoinGecko is that we will see a world where everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. So like we're seeing NFTs, or we're seeing people's personal time, like they tokenize themselves, happening, tokenizing real estate. Anything that can be tokens will be tokenized. So you have millions of tokens out there. And what we want to do is we want to organize all this information in such a way that people can understand, like market data, finding out about the coins or finding out about the tokens and whatever. So we want to organize them in such a way that people can look it up easily. So we're building all the infrastructure, the building blocks, the features, whatever it may be, to get to that end goal, right? Of course, in the short term, is that we'll do something NFT because people want it, so we'll probably experiment something over there. Other than that, there will be maybe some small features, small fixes to address the market needs by the day-to-day basis, lah. Basically, yeah.
Okay, again, I have no IT background also, so if you correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you can be the next Google of cryptocurrency. Am I right? Wrong? Too flashy?
I don't like to pitch that because people will say that I'm lying or buzzword. So
Right.
but I mean that's something possible. But I would also say that knowing how things are working right now, it's actually very difficult to build a Google of cryptocurrency because things are very, very fragmented. You got different blockchains to index, and all of them are non-standard. And then it's very expensive as well to index all of them. So unless maybe some people in Google can figure out how to automatically send a robot to index everything, but from what I've gathered so far, it is quite difficult to do it in such a way that to turn all this data into information in an automated manner, like what Google is doing. Maybe things will change down the road because I'm seeing some new products out there that tries to simplify all this. Technology stacks will always like improve over time and help you get towards the end. But we'll probably need a Google eventually because there's no way we can track millions of tokens. I mean that's the goal, right? I mean what will we build to get there? It could be automated feature eventually, but at this point in time, it's actually rather fragmented and rather difficult to do it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, it sounds really interesting. I wish you all the best luck. Thank you so much, and I hope that as the crypto space expands, we get to talk to each other again and get updates from experts' point of view.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Very happy to share it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, stop recording.